Some stories fade away. Others grow smaller with time, becoming just another file in a cold archive. But every once in a while, a case refuses to die. Not because the evidence is strong, not because the truth is simple, but because something inside the story feels unfinished. The murder of Hae Min Lee and the subsequent conviction of her ex-boyfriend Adnan Syed is one of those stories. A case that captured the world's attention not once, but multiple times over the span of 2 decades. A case resurrected by a podcast, re-examined by lawyers, journalists, and even the courts themselves. A case that transformed true crime from a niche interest into a global cultural force. And yet, after all the reviews, all the investigations, all the documentaries, and all the court hearings, we still don't know exactly what happened on that cold January day in 1999. Today, we re-examine one of the most controversial criminal cases in American history. We dive deeper into the evidence, the testimony, the contradictions, the missing pieces, and the modern legal reforms that changed the final outcome more than 20 years later. This is the fully expanded, fully re-investigated story of the state versus Adnan Syed, a story of a tragic murder, an imperfect investigation, a questionable conviction, a shifting narrative, and a justice system grappling with its own flaws. January 13th, 1999. Hae Min Lee was a bright, driven, well-liked senior at Woodlawn High School. She had plans for college, dreams of becoming a doctor, and a busy schedule filled with athletics, friends, and after-school commitments. She was the kind of student teachers remembered and classmates admired. On the day she disappeared, nothing seemed unusual. She attended her morning classes, spoke with friends, laughed, and moved through her school day as she always did. Sometime in the early afternoon, she was supposed to pick up her little cousin from school, a responsibility she took seriously. But she never arrived. Initially, her disappearance didn't signal immediate danger. Teenagers skip school. Teenagers get stressed. Teenagers sometimes walk away from their routines. At least, that's how the initial response was framed. But Hae wasn't the type to disappear, not without telling someone, not without picking up her cousin, and certainly not without coming home. Hours passed into night. Night passed into the next morning, and then into several days. Concern evolved into fear. Fear hardened into dread. 4 weeks later, on February 9th, a man walking through Leakin Park discovered a partially buried body. Police identified it as Hae Min Lee. Hae had been strangled. Her death was ruled a homicide. With that discovery, the tone of the investigation shifted dramatically from a missing person report to a murder hunt, and the urgency to find a suspect intensified. When homicide detectives interviewed Hae's friends and classmates, 2 names surfaced: Adnan Syed, her ex-boyfriend, and a friend of his named Jay Wilds. Adnan and Hae had dated the year before. Their relationship was intense and complicated, partially because her Korean family disapproved of her dating, especially dating someone outside their culture. Their relationship had ended months earlier. According to friends, the breakup had been emotional, but not violent. Still, detectives quickly centered their attention on Adnan, not because of physical evidence, not because of forensic findings, but because of a narrative one supported primarily by the shifting testimony of Jay. Jay told detectives that Adnan had murdered Hae, then asked him for help burying the body. But Jay's multiple conflicting interviews raised immediate questions. In one version, he helped dig the grave. In another, he just watched. In one timeline, the murder happened after school. In another, earlier. Locations changed. Times changed. Details changed. Yet Jay's story was enough to move the case forward. No physical evidence tied Adnan to the crime scene. No DNA, no fingerprints, no hair, no fibers, nothing. Instead, the case hinged on two things: Jay's testimony and cell phone tower records that prosecutors claimed placed Adnan near the burial site in Leakin Park. Except there was a problem. The phone company warning label explicitly stated that incoming calls could not reliably establish location. The prosecution used those exact incoming calls to form a timeline, and the jury never heard the warning. Even worse, a potential alibi witness, Asia McLean, wrote to Adnan claiming she saw him at the library at the time the state argued the murder occurred. Adnan's attorney never contacted her. The state had its theory, and everything the police found afterward was interpreted through that lens. Adnan Syed's trial began in 2000. From the beginning, it was unusual. The defense attorney, Cristina Gutierrez, was once one of Baltimore's top lawyers, but during Adnan's trial, her health was rapidly declining. Her performance was erratic. She made mistakes. She missed opportunities. She didn't call key witnesses. She didn't properly challenge the phone data. Most importantly, she never reached out to the one person who claimed to have been with Adnan at the time of the murder. Asia wasn't called. Her letters weren't introduced. Her potential alibi was never heard. The prosecution relied heavily on Jay's account, but jurors weren't told that Jay had been inconsistent across multiple interviews. They also weren't told that alternate suspects existed. They also weren't told that one such suspect had threatened to harm Hae. The phone tower evidence was presented as definitive, even though the fine print contradicted its reliability, and the defense didn't object. After 6 weeks, the jury deliberated for only a few hours. They found Adnan Syed guilty of first-degree murder, false imprisonment, kidnapping, and robbery. He was sentenced to life in prison, plus 30 years. At just 17 years old, his life was effectively over, but the story was far from finished. For years, nothing publicly significant happened with the case. Adnan filed appeals. They were denied. The public didn't know his name. Hae's murder was remembered only by those who knew her. Then, in 2014, everything changed. A journalist named Sarah Koenig released the first season of a podcast called Serial. It became the most downloaded podcast in history. The world suddenly cared about a 5-year-old case. Millions listened as Koenig dissected timelines, questioned witness credibility, and highlighted evidence the jury never heard. People analyzed every minute detail: cell tower data, library logs, school schedules, phone records, and inconsistencies in testimonies. Public opinion shifted. Social media exploded with theories. Documentaries followed. Lawyers revisited the case. And one question echoed across the world: did we convict the right person? The pressure generated by Serial reignited legal scrutiny. Non-profit legal groups and prosecutors began re-examining the case. Several major discoveries emerged. 1. The phone tower evidence used in court was flawed. The fine print clearly stated that incoming call pings were not reliable for location tracking. The prosecution had used those exact pings to place Adnan near Leakin Park. 2. Key evidence was never shared with the defense. Alternate suspects existed, suspects with documented motives or histories of violence, but this information was withheld. 3. The alibi witness, Asia McLean, confirmed she was never contacted. This alone called into question the competence of the defense attorney. 4. DNA testing improved. In 2022, new testing was performed on items including Hae's shoes. None of the DNA matched Adnan. But critically, the DNA also didn't conclusively match anyone else. Still, the absence of Adnan's DNA on key evidence weakened the original case significantly. The Baltimore State's Attorney's Office conducted its own review, something incredibly rare. After months of investigation, they announced that they no longer had confidence in the conviction. In 2022, a judge vacated the conviction. After 23 years in prison, Adnan Syed walked free. In most stories, this would be the end, but not this one. In 2025, a new hearing was scheduled not to reincarcerate him, but to resentence him under Maryland's Juvenile Restoration Act, a law designed to account for young offenders who have demonstrably changed. The state acknowledged that Adnan had grown significantly since his arrest. His behavior in prison had been exemplary. He had no history of violence before or after the crime. He had pursued education, faith, and self-reflection. The judge ruled that Adnan had served enough time. Whatever happened in 1999, he was no longer the 7-year-old boy from Woodlawn High School. He was resentenced to time served and released fully on probation. The decision marked the final major legal chapter of the case, at least for now. Even with all the new information, with modern forensic testing, with updated laws, with reinvestigations and resentencing, the truth still sits in a gray space. We still don't know who killed Hae Min Lee. The inconsistencies in Jay's story raise questions about whether he was involved more deeply than he admitted, or whether he was pressured, misled, or scared when speaking to police. Alternate suspects existed: people close to Hae, people with violent histories, people who had threatened her, but none were pursued with the same intensity as Adnan. Why? Was it tunnel vision, bias, pressure to close a high-profile case, or something else entirely? The missing alibi, the flawed phone records, the withheld evidence, the questionable reliability of certain witnesses, the lack of physical proof, the evolving legal landscape. All of these paint a picture of a case that was never as strong as it was presented. And despite the hearings, appeals, studies, and debates, we may never receive a definitive answer. The Adnan Syed case has become more than a murder investigation. It has become a symbol, a case study in how the justice system handles evidence, teenagers, cultural pressures, community expectations, and the unforgiving momentum of a narrative once it begins. It forces us to confront uncomfortable truths. How often does tunnel vision shape investigations? How many convictions rely on unreliable witnesses? How much evidence gets lost or hidden in the cracks? How many appeals are denied simply because the system prioritizes finality over accuracy? Most importantly, how many people are serving life sentences based on cases that would fall apart if re-examined today? This case isn't only about Adnan. It's about every defendant who lacked resources, every lawyer who was overwhelmed or unprepared, every piece of evidence that was misinterpreted, every witness who was pressured, every jury that didn't hear the full story. This case forces us to ask, how confident should we be in the system as it stands? 25 years after Hae Min Lee's death, the case continues to echo. It continues to divide. It continues to inspire researchers, investigators, lawyers, and ordinary people who believe the truth deserves another chance. The story of Adnan Syed is no longer just a tragedy or a mystery. It is a cautionary tale about assumptions, about evidence, about fallibility, and about the fragile nature of justice. And until every unanswered question finds a clear resolution, this case will never truly be closed. Subscribe to my channel for more chilling stories like this. As always, stay curious, stay critical, and thank you for watching.